10 more books read this month. I think that is quite a good success. Hey book lovers, Victoria here, and today I'm coming at you with my August wrap up. So let's get into it. Obviously it was Booktubeathon this month, which is why I managed to get through quite a few books. Obviously I'm going to be talking about the books that I read during the Booktubeathon that I mentioned in my wrap up, so it might be a little bit boring if you've already watched my Booktubeathon wrap up. I will link below to the few video challenges I did in case you missed them. Let's just get into it. So the first book I read was The Magician's Nephew by C.S. Lewis, the first book in the Chronicles of Narnia series. So I'm currently giving this series a proper read. I started to try and read it a few years ago. Sort of couldn't get into it and just could not be bothered, but I am trying this time because I really love the movies, and I know some of the things that happened in the later books that I haven't read and that the movies haven't been created yet. But I really love this series and I really enjoyed this first book. I listened to this one on audiobook and the audiobook was amazing. It was like listening to a movie, so I just really loved it and I can't wait to continue on with the rest of the series over the coming months. Then the next 3 books I read are graphic novels, and they are volumes 1, 2 and 3 in Charmed season 9. These are a legit continuation of the Charmed TV series, so if you loved the show, then definitely go check these books out. They are released in comic book form. I think a new issue comes out either every fortnight or every month. I'm not quite sure. But then at the end of a storyline, those issues are bound up. It's usually between 6 or 7 issues and put into a volume. There is one more volume in season 9. I really loved this series. It's just I really loved this continuation. It's just great to be back with the characters because they still feel so familiar. They're written exactly the same as they would have been written in the show, which I think is just a really great thing. Like, they haven't tried to change the characters or anything, and I'm excited to see where this series goes. Season 10 has been coming out. They've already released volume 1 of season 10, so I need to catch up very, very soon. But yeah, I seriously loved these so much. So the next book I read will come as no surprise to anyone who has been watching this channel for the past couple of months, and that is Pretty Little Secrets, by Sarah Shepard, the companion novel book 4.5 in the Pretty Little Liars series. This takes place between arcs 1 and 2, so the first 4 books and the second 4 books, and it looks at how the girls spent their winter break over Christmas and New Year. And it's told in 4 individual stories rather than how the other books are told, sort of combining all their stories together and having them overlap and stuff like that. This was relatively interesting. Nothing major happened. There was obviously no A drama. We're between A's here. So it was, overall, I found it somewhat boring in a way. To me, it feels like this book, at the moment anyway, at this point in the series, didn't need to be written. This wasn't actually released in chronological order with the series. It was released near the end. I think it might have been before the last or the second last book it was released. So to me, at this point in the series, it felt really pointless. There was nothing happening. There was no A drama. And then when I continued on to the 5th book, there was continuity issues because it was written at a later date. So yeah, like I said, at the moment, didn't feel relevant, didn't feel like it needed to be written, but that could definitely change down the track if there's some references to what's happened in this near the end of the series. But anyway, I still enjoyed it. Great to be with these characters. So then naturally, the next book I read after that was Wicked, which is the 5th book in this series. Like I said, continuity issues were getting to me a little bit, but I tried to put that out of my head. This is all about A number 2. The girls think they're safe. First A is dead. They're getting counselling. Ali's supposed killer is on trial. And although they've been receiving all these phony A messages because their story was national, because their story went national, so they're getting all these stupid A messages. However, there are a few messages that stick out as very A-esque, and they discover that there is someone else out there who is A, who means a lot more trouble than the first A did. And what I really liked about this, only because I've now continued on to the next book, is that in the other books, at the start of the, sorry, if you haven't read these books, at the start of each book there is a chapter that is a flashback to something that's happened in the past revolving around Ali and the girls, and that is sort of the main focus of the book, the main focus of the flashbacks and the issues that are going on and everything. And each book, it's sort of only really one flashback, each book is focusing on a different flashback point. However, with this book and the next book, it's the same time, it's the same event, which I thought was really interesting because some of the stories in this weren't concluded. I found it was just, anyway, I'll talk about that more when I get around to finishing the next book. But anyway, I really enjoyed this. Great being back with the characters, with the A-drama, and now that we have to wait until January until season 6B, these are definitely a good Pretty Little Liars filler. So I'm excited to see where this series goes and how A is who A is, because I already know who the book A is, but that's not the point. The next book I read was Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief by Rick Riordan, and the first book in the Percy Jackson and the Olympian series, and I'm so glad I finally got around to starting this series because it was so amazing. I love Percy's narration. He is just really funny and sassy and awesome, and I love all the Greek mythology that it covers in here, and that compared to some other books that I've read that look at Greek mythology, it doesn't try and cram as much in as possible. Rick has just sort of put in the right amount that is needed to tell the story, which I really enjoyed, and I can't wait to see where this series goes and just get more into the Greek mythology, because I do love Greek mythology. I just haven't read enough about it. So the next book I read was an ebook, and that was Crystal Magic by Madeline Freeman, the first book in the Clearwater Witches series. This was free to download on Kindle and iBooks, and the cover just looked really beautiful, so I had to get it. This is about a girl called Krista who is a witch. She doesn't realise she's a witch until she moves to Clearwater in with her aunt, and she discovers that she's quite powerful because she is the descendant of two founding families of Clearwater. And the founding families are the ones who possess the powers. So she is half witch, half psychic, so she's really powerful. She's one of the most powerful witches Clearwater has seen in a few generations. And she has to team up with a circle who she originally declined being involved with, in order to find a crystal to anchor their magic in order to save her Aunt Jodie, who has been cursed with a disease that she's going to die of. And some crazy stuff happens at the end, and there's a beautiful cliffhanger, and I can't wait to read the second book, so hopefully I get around to that very soon. Then the next book I read was Until Friday Night by Abby Glines, the first book in the Field Party series. I have an entire review video up on this, so please go check that out. Yeah, just go watch that because I don't want to talk about it because there's just so much to cover. So yeah, I will put a link here or in the description to my review for this book. And that ruined everything. And then finally, the last book I finished this month was Hitler's Daughter by Jackie French. I did talk about this a little bit in my haul video. This is a children's middle grade-ish novel. Lower middle grade, I don't know. I originally read this in year 7 in high school for English, and it was really interesting. Jackie French is an Australian author. She writes for adults and kids alike. And this book is set in Australia. Well, the basis of the story is. So it is about these group of kids who on rainy days while they're waiting for the bus play the game, and that is one of them comes up with a story idea, a character, a setting, sort of just really anything, and then this girl Anna will tell the story. And so they haven't played the game for a while, and one day it's raining, it's like torrential rain nearly, and they decide to play the game, and this time Anna decides that she's going to be the one to create the character and tell the story. So she comes up with the idea of Hitler's daughter Heidi, and it's just all about her. She's born with a birthmark on her face. She is definitely not the perfect person that Hitler wanted for his perfect human race, but Hitler still sort of loves her anyway. She knows that Hitler is her father, and that there is a war happening, but she doesn't know that Hitler is pretty much the sole cause, and that there's all these horrific events happening. She doesn't know that the concentration camps actually kill the Jews. She just thinks that they are work camps. That's what she's been told, which is pretty much kind of what a lot of the German public were told, that it was just work camps. So throughout the Heidi parts of the story, it also looks at the main character Mark, who kind of can't stop thinking about Hitler and the idea if Hitler had a daughter. And it really just looks at that just because your parents may be really evil or may have a really strong trait that could be evil or something that you don't really like, doesn't necessarily mean that that's going to be who you are as well. You're not going to emulate your parents exactly, which is really good. So which I thought was just a really good message. Obviously, again, this is a kids book, and the idea of it was to introduce kids to Hitler and World War II without giving them the finer details and all the horror and all of that, just general outlines so that they had some idea that something had happened. And also, like I said, to say that just because your parents may be evil or whatever doesn't mean that you're going to be it as well. I just thought it was a really good book, considering it is really, really short and a kid's book. I felt like the story did go pretty quickly for me, and could have been a lot deeper. There were parts that were just sort of glossed over and plot points that were mentioned that didn't really have any relevance. So I kind of really wish that it was a bit longer. I really feel like this is a story that you could make a bit longer, go more into detail, not only with Heidi, but also the other characters who are telling the story. So yeah, I thought this was really good. There is also, I think it's a companion novel called Pennies for Hitler, which is set in Germany, which should be interesting. I'm going to try and read that one as well. But yeah, I really like Jackie French. I love that I love reading Australian authors, and I liked this was set in Australia, like in the country as well, so I could really relate to what was going on. And I thought what was really cool is because it rains for the entire time throughout this book, which is why they're telling the story, it was actually raining while I was reading it. We've had rain for the past week, so I just thought it was the perfect time to read this book. So they're all the books that I've actually finished, but I'm also currently making my way through the Penguin Henry Lawson short stories by Henry Lawson. I've read 9 of the 22 short stories in here, and they're just stories set in the Australian bush during the late 1800s. I have to read this for Australian literature, and I'm really enjoying it. And I'm going to keep reading it. I don't have to read every single story. I literally only have to read, I think it was like 5 or something out of here. But I'm going to read them all because they're really interesting, and yeah. So they are all the books that I read during the month of August. I am really quite proud of how many I've read. Managed to read a book on the same day that it arrived in the mail. I managed to get through some more series. I mean, I started a couple of series, but what are you going to do? Hopefully next month is just as good. So I'll see you guys soon with my TBR video. I've now decided that I'm going to split my wrap up and TBRs, because if I'm talking about several books that I've read and then I've also got several books that I want to read, that's going to be a long video, and I feel like this video is already going to be quite long because I did talk about a few books in a little bit of detail. But anyway, so I'll see you guys soon with my TBR. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter, Tumblr, Facebook and Instagram. Just keep up with my bookish happenings, and if you like what you see, subscribe, because I've got some videos coming out very soon that I'm excited about. They're just regular booktube videos, but you know, I'm making more videos, which is a good thing. So we'll see you guys soon with another video. Bye.